Back in the 1400s, if you wanted to read a book, you basically had to bribe a monk until one guy said, "Why not just press a bunch of letters and call it a day?" That guy broke the internet of his time. The year is 1449. Europe is still lost in the thick fog of the Middle Ages. Knowledge was a sort of royal treasure, locked safely away behind cathedral doors. Ordinary people didn't need to read, at least. That's what the powerful like to think. Because when people read, they start to question things. And questioning is always bad for business. If you wanted a book, you had to wait about 10 years. And by the time the monk had finally finished copying it, chances were he died from exhaustion. Then, out of Mainz, came an unassuming carpenter, Johannes Gutenberg. Gutenberg looked like any other craftsman, but inside his head, history was making plans. One day, while tinkering with pieces of metal in his workshop, he thought, "Why are we writing everything by hand? What if we cast letters in molds, line them up, and press them all at once?" Nobody believed him. Some even said, "Johannes, you've been drinking too much wine. Sleep it off." But Gutenberg didn't care. He was determined to end the era of copying by candlelight, one page at a time. Years of experiments followed broken gears, spilled ink, endless frustrations. And then, finally, the machine came to life. The world's first movable type press. A clean sheet of paper soaked up fresh ink, and in that moment, it felt as if history itself whispered, "The record button has been pressed." The first book he printed? Of course, the Bible. Until then, a single copy was so rare you could practically trade it for a village. But now, it could be reproduced. Still, Gutenberg's ambitions reached beyond holy texts. He believed knowledge belonged to everyone. "Thought is the right of every soul," he murmured to himself. Books multiplied. Prices dropped. What had once been locked away in Lord's collections now found its way onto the shelves of ordinary people. Some rejoiced. Others panicked. The Catholic Church tried to slow this flood. But it was too late. The wheels were turning. Nothing could stop them. Then came Martin Luther. When he nailed his 95 Theses to the church door, it could have stayed a local squabble. But Gutenberg's heirs fired up the presses. Within days, Luther's ideas were everywhere. The Reformation set Europe ablaze. Meanwhile, the Renaissance picked up speed. Ancient Greek texts were dusted off and copied by the thousands. Galileo and Copernicus spread their revolutionary ideas across borders on printed pages. Scientists, philosophers, poets all became part of the same unstoppable wave. Knowledge was finally on the move. People began to read more, literacy rates climbed, and the old authorities grew uneasy. Because everyone knew, once people learned to read, they learned to think. And once they learned to think, trouble was never far behind. The greatest irony of Gutenberg's press was this. The first tool of mass production printed holy scriptures, then turned around and printed the manifestos that challenged the church itself. Some called it divine. Some called it dangerous. But that little machine made sure every thought could travel, for better or worse. And on the shelf of history, one simple truth was written forever. Sometimes, to start a revolution, you don't need a sword. Just a bit of ink, a few pieces of metal, and one stubborn man willing to press onward. From that day forward, knowledge never stopped spreading. Newspapers, novels, the internet, every page of every story traces back to Gutenberg's noisy workshop. So the next time you read a viral headline or stay up all night devouring an ebook, remember this. It all began when one man decided to print, and the world never looked the same again.